So this is going to be my review of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Now, Ghostbusters has been a relentless franchise in recent years that Sony just won't let die, to where it's all like, God damn, people still asking for Ghostbuster movies after all these years. You had the smash success of the original film 40 years ago, the OG Ghostbusters, and then the sequel in 1989. Then you had a few decades later, then the ill-fated female-led remake in 2016. And then there was the proper sequel, Ghostbusters Afterlife, a few years ago in 2021. I think this film had the right idea, taking the kind of legacy sequel approach, honoring the legacy of the original films, initially anyways, making it feel different with the kind of Spielberg Stranger Things approach to the story. But the film, admittedly, I think, got pretty lazy towards the final stretch, the final third of the film, where they essentially decided to remake the first film. And I get it, for nostalgia purposes, with a kind of legacy sequel, you want to include those icons of the series, but it could have been done in smarter fashion. Still though, it's tough not to smile a little when you see the OG team get together at the end. The movie essentially was the Force Awakens of the Ghostbusters series, for better and for worse. Can't say I was all that interested in another sequel though. In fact, I basically saw no trailers for this film, so this was about as blind as I've ever been going into a franchise tentpole film like this. There is some nice symbolism though, as this film is being released on the 40-year anniversary of the original Ghostbusters film. Following the events that took place in Oklahoma and Afterlife, the Spengler family, along with Paul Rudd's Gooberman, have moved to New York to continue the family business of ghostbusting. But in this world, there's no shortages of ancient evils out there, as a new one emerges that has been on recruiting a ghostly army and sending the world into a major chill, hence the name title, Frozen Empire. This movie ditched the whole legacy sequel approach that Afterlife took, and just took on the feeling of being like a regular feeling sequel, mixing in the new blood of the series with the OGs. It actually balances the new and the old characters pretty decently, although there are a lot of characters. It's very much like Stranger Things in that approach, to where by the end, there's so many main characters, side characters. It was like, wow, a bit too many characters here. I mean, look at that poster. That is the most characters I've ever seen crammed into a non-Avengers poster ever. Naturally, the newer characters still get more focus here. But I thought they found solid roles for all the OG people from the original Ghostbusters film, except for Bill Murray's Venkman. You know, I love Venkman, he's hilarious, but he really did just feel thrown in there. Phoebe is still the central character that we follow. She was the brainiac, somewhat awkward girl that we met in Afterlife. She definitely is the female version of young Sheldon in her personality. She's the granddaughter of Spengler, one of the original Ghostbusters. Her main story in this one is how she's upset that how her family believes she's too young to be ghostbusting, as she's 15 years old in this movie, so there's child labor laws and all that kind of stuff. Most of the movie though, you're on her side, especially after the library scene, to which why people were mad at her after her actions in that scene was ridiculous. I guess it's because they didn't see how the entire thing played out. Unfortunately, for as smart as the character is, she just makes an unbelievably dumb decision just before the third act, where the whole audience was like, what the f***? Okay, you just lost all the goodwill I had for you in terms of being on the right side of things here. It's really the kind of dumb decision making you could only find in a movie. Now, I've honestly never been the biggest fan of the stories in any of these Ghostbuster films, mainly because I believe they get a bit too caught up in the whole ancient evil, end of the world mumbo jumbo, and not the fun when it comes to playing around with the supernatural. I think these movies could actually take some cues from Disney's Haunted Mansion. No, not the piece of remake, but the actual ride, to learn about the kind of fun you can have with ghosts in a comedic type fashion. I think I did like the ghost element more in this film than the previous films, because it wasn't until the end it avoided the whole ancient evil prophecy thing. There's more time spent with ghosts that, just feel like regular ghosts. There's a lot of time with a ghost that can possess inanimate objects. There's another ghost who's just a regular woman moaning Myrtle style, who befriends Phoebe in a casual, natural type style. Eventually though, the whole standard end of the world Ghostbuster scenario comes out. In this case, it's a large, tall demon type thing, I forgot the name, who initially his scenes were pretty terrifying. Unlike previous ghosts in the series, he just flat out murders people in pretty terrifying, horrific fashion, along with sending the city into a major chill Elsa style. Like all the other New York-based Ghostbusters films, things get pretty big in scale towards the end. The overall climax with this ghost was okay though, it wasn't bad. These movies, though, apparently can't help but always include two particular icons from the series, and that's Slimer and the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Now, the Stay Puft Little Marshmallow Men. Both of these guys, though, were completely superfluous to the story. I get it, though, they're the most popular ghosts from the original film, but man, the series has got to find a way to move on from them eventually, especially Slimer, to where he's just crowbarred into this film. Although the ending of this movie would say otherwise in terms of moving on from these particular ghosts. Thankfully, though, the movie avoided the whole carbon copy approach that Afterlife did in the third act. There was some new stuff, some decent camaraderie at the end. Again, the Stranger Things approach is all over this film, in more than one way. Overall, I didn't mind this movie, though. I like the cast, seeing your OG veterans from the original in there, like Dan Aykroyd. I liked your younger actors, and I love seeing Paul Rudd in there. I always think he's pretty funny. Thought it was mostly a decent ghost adventure that had the kind of Ghostbusters stuff you'd want to see in new ways and of course in old ways. I'd go 7 out of 10 ghosts for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. If you see the movie, I think there's a decent chance you'll have a solid time, although it's nothing that'll blow you away. But then again, I wasn't exactly blown out by the original Ghostbusters movies. But then again, that may be more of a result of me not seeing them in the 80s when they came out. The best part of the movie was definitely the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man sipper I got just before the movie. I didn't even know they were selling this before going in, but when I saw it at the concession stand, I was like, ooh, I gotta get me one of those. My auditorium, though, wasn't really very packed. When I saw the movie, it was a pretty empty Thursday night screening, so who knows if this film is gonna do big numbers money-wise over the weekend. Based on the auditorium that I was in, I doubt it, but we'll just have to wait and see. It was a 6 o'clock showing. So that'll do it for this review of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching.